Good morning. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to your Monday Morning Jumpstart. I am Jade Trueblood, and I am joined by a special guest, and probably not a stranger to you if you're in the AWAI world, but Mr. Nick Usborne. Woo!
Good morning.
How are you, Nick?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. Welcome
all
to
all smiley on a Monday morning.
Yes. Welcome to Monday Morning Jumpstart. I think this is your first time jumping with us. Nick, I mentioned that people probably know you if they're in the AWAI world. You've been a partner with AWAI for a long time, but you've also been in the industry. I would say, would you bucket it as direct response, or how would you bucket the industry you've been in?
Just as a professional copywriter, content writer, yeah. So a lot of it's been direct response, but not all of it. So.
Okay. And how many years, if you don't mind me asking, have you been doing this?
I got my first job as a trainee copywriter at an advertising agency in London in 1979.
Wow, that's
I
amazing.
know, way
Amazing.
back.
Well, I think it's also important to mention because not many people are able to stay in the same career successfully and be on the top like you have for so many years. So I'm wondering if we can talk about how you've been able to do that, what that's looked like for you, what you've learned from that, and obviously you've seen a lot of change over those years, Nick. So tell us, number one, like what do you think has made you so successful, and how change has played into that?
I think what I do is the way I describe it to people is I lean into change. I'm relentlessly interested in what's new, what's happening. So when new technologies, I guess from 79 to kind of mid 90s, I was doing print, I was doing direct mail, so traditional offline media. And then things got really interesting for me as someone who loves leaning into change and technology with the arrival of the web. So I published my first website in 1995, about the same time as Amazon. So
Wow.
I was early there, and I was early because I find it fascinating. I lean into these changes, and I see, hey, what are the opportunities here for someone like me, for a writer or for a copywriter? And I've kept going with that. I started writing exclusively for the web in 1997, so I kind of made that commitment. And then I'm just always looking for what's changing, what's new. So I'm kind of trying to ride the wave rather than follow along after. And part of you don't have to be this way. It's just something that's worked for me. And like you say, I've been a copywriter now, I guess 45 years. And to survive in anything, you have to, I guess you have to love it, but you also have to kind of fire yourself up. And I fire myself up by just being really fascinated by the new stuff. And I get it, and I try to get in there first for a couple of reasons. One, because I find it really interesting. Secondly, I hate being part of a crowd. I don't want to be a crowd of copywriters. I don't want to be one of 100 or one of 1,000 or one of 1,000,000. I don't want to be in that room with. I want to be ahead somewhere, out on my own or just with a few people. So I don't want to compete with lots of other people. So I'm always looking for where can I get ahead of the crowd? Because hey, like in any business, as freelancers, as copywriters, designers, writers, whatever, we compete. We're in a competitive landscape. So I don't want to do that. So I just like to get ahead of where everyone else is at, and I want to use the momentum of change to kind of carry me forward. So I kind of lean into that.
You mentioned momentum, but I'm wondering if you experienced one of two things. Like, one, is it scary, but you do it anyway? Or was it like that initially, and now it's kind of just become normal to you to lean into that? Or do you still feel that resistance, but do it anyways? Like, or, because I do think there's a lot of fear that comes with change.
There is. That's a great question. I actually don't feel any fear at all.
Wow.
So I'm probably deluded in that regard. Hey, when I went in 1987 from print to web,
Yeah.
I had a family I had 4 kids at home, I was supporting a full family. I had a 6-figure copywriting career in December of 1996 as print. And I
Wow.
dropped it all. I dropped it. My income for January 1997 was 0.
Wow.
I dropped that 6-figure career to commit totally. In hindsight, I should have been scared silly. I had a whole family to support. I had no certainty at all about the year ahead. And in
Yeah.
fact, that year, 1997, was a really bad year. I think I was racking up credit card debt all over the place. Fortunately, by 1998, 1999, things picked up, and it turned out that I'd made a smart decision. But when I lean into these changes and I kind of jump in, I try to jump in ahead of the crowd. I don't actually feel anxiety or fear about it. I actually feel comfortable in that place, which is why I say this is not necessarily a strategy for everyone.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if that kind of change makes you super anxious, then maybe there's different strategies that would work for you. But I think and I can't be alone
Yeah.
in where leaning into change has really helped me, and it has. And I guess it's like I'm either delusional or I have a lot of self-confidence or something, because I always kind of figure I don't even think about it. Will this work out or not? I just I just rush in there and go nuts and do stuff, and things generally work out.
I was gonna say to you, I feel like the lesson then from that is that a certain level of delusion serves you well, and I can like the best possible way. And I do think there's probably like a middle ground of what people can take from this, right? Like they don't need to drop it all and go to the next thing, like the next change. There can be like transition, right? So that it can,
Right.
like some people that it might scare the possibility of dropping all like that extreme amount of change. You can
Right.
embrace the change that's coming, lean into it while still carrying with you whatever you're doing or whatever's going on,
Yep. Yep. And that's certainly a viable way to go about it. I think what I did, like that thing I did in 1997 is typical of me, of like burning the bridge. And I think I burned the bridge to make sure I'm fully committed to what I've decided to do,
Uh,
rather than say, oh, well, it's a bit scary, so I'm going to keep I'm going to
so
keep 80% in what I know for sure and 20% in change. And it's safer that way. But the trouble is, if you do that, that 20% is never enough to actually build momentum and get you to where you want to be. So I'm a bit of a bridge burner, but like I say, it takes it takes a certain delusional sort of mindset for that to be comfortable with that.
yeah.
And if you're not, then it's probably not for you. But if you are, it's like I say, hey, it's to be still standing in the same industry after 45 years is, so I must be doing something right.
Yes, but I do like that. I think fully committing is a big lesson of something you just said, and getting that momentum behind you so that you're not, because we can get stuck and comfortable, right? And it seems like you're very comfortable with being uncomfortable. So there's a lesson in that with the momentum that can come with
Right.
that. So yeah, I love that.
Right.
One last question for you, or way to end off this lesson. What do you say to somebody that looks at you and is like, well, that's great for you, but that could never work for me? Like you started out and you got ahead, so that's wonderful, but that's never going to be for me.
Well, there are different strategies. I know people who are very successful in our space who are still writing direct mail letters. All right. So you don't have to lean into change. You don't have to follow what I've done. For some people, it's going to be exciting and an interesting and amazing journey. For others, you can specialize in print advertising. You can be a billboard copywriter if you want. There's still opportunities there. So
Mm.
it's not like I've got to do what Nick does or I'm done. Not at all. There are different ways. You got to find something that works for you, that you're comfortable with. But I would say a little bit of fear, a little
Mhm.
edge is helpful because it gets
Mhm.
you up in the morning.
Mhm.
I think you want to put yourself a little bit out there, a little bit scary, a little bit reaching beyond where you've been before, even if you're still doing print.
Mhm.
Um, just to, hey, it's a kind of spark, right? I think if you
Yeah.
just do the same old, same old, same old, and it begins to feel like routine, then you're losing something.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to be your best freelancer, or you're never going to be your best writer or creator if you're just in this flat space. You need a little spark, a little flame along the way somewhere.
It feels like a little something to lose, as negative
Yeah,
as that sounds, right? Like I feel
yeah,
like when you have like a little something to lose and something's a little bit risky, it ignites like an energy in you. And
right.
some people think it's nervous, but I think nervous can also be mistaken for excited, and that gets
Sure.
the
It's
juices
it's it's
flowing.
like it's like you're right. It's like putting a little. It's having skin in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you touched on something in this, and that was curiosity. So I'd love to pick that up next week when we're going to dive into more reasons why Nick is so successful. What a lovely topic, Nick. But no, I think there's been a lot of great lessons today. Lean into change. Be slightly delusional. I mean, why not? What do you got to lose, right? Momentum, be fully committed, and live on that edge just a little bit for this to tip over and go in the direction of what you want.
Sure.
So we shall see everybody next week. Thank you, Nick.
Okay, bye.
Bye.